final recording today, and the last one that should come out on their end.
That's true. This is our furthest out video thus far that we are recording today.
By the way, guys, how did you like Smasher Pass? That'll be out by then. You know how that went. We don't yet.
Oh. Decisions were made.
Editor Sekhie might be able to fill you in on how she feels after that at this point, but no.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't know.
You know what? Somewhere in this video, I will add a little addendum how I feel after. The answer is terrible. I feel fucking terrible. Honestly, I'm probably not going to be drinking for a while. I was not expecting it to be quite that intensive. For some reason I thought I'd get to like 40 shots max. No, that was a lie. But I did have a lot of fun filming it, and, you know, my opinions stand. But yeah, that's editing Sekhie. Also, I never want to edit a video like that again. I swear to fucking God. I'll get someone else to help me because Jesus fucking Christ, taking out the sounds of my own vomiting. Even though the vomiting sobered me back up completely, so that was fun. Anyways, back to Artemis and Orion.
At the end, you should be like, are you glad or mad that this wasn't included?
Yeah. But with that being said, as you can see on screen, we are talking about Orion, and with Orion comes Artemis. So I just met them in campaign because we just finished Okeanos, the chapter. Yeah. I do have them as a servant. I have not used them yet. I have not seen them. It's one of the reasons why I pushed for us to do them, because I have them in campaign and I didn't want to... I wanted to be able to use characters that I have. And some characters, it doesn't really matter to me if I'm, you know, using them and seeing the lore before I know a whole lot about them, but I don't know, these two just seemed like there might be some interesting lore. So, I know Nick Nack told me I didn't necessarily have to do a lot about the actual constellation itself, but I started reading about it, and it's actually pretty interesting, so I have some basic information about the constellation that I just thought was interesting for people to know, and I know a few people have commented that they enjoy learning new things from my segment here at the beginning. So, here we go. Orion, the constellation. So, this constellation is located near the celestial equator, making it nearby to a lot of the zodiac signs. It's bordered by Taurus and Gemini in particular, as well as a few other constellations. Of the 88 constellations in the night sky, it is the 26th largest by size, and it is most visible in the evening sky from January to April. Navigationally, the line of the belt can indicate Sirius and Aldebaran, and the line of the shoulders can point you to Prochyron, and Rigel and Betelgeuse point you to Castor and Pollux, which is the Gemini constellation. So, Rigel is part of the Winter Circle, and Sirius and Prochyron, the Winter Triangle and Circle. It contains the 7 brightest stars in Orion are Rigel, Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, Sekhie, yes. Alnitak, Alnilam, Mintaka, and Mesa. So, Rigel, Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, and Sekhie make the rough kind of hourglass-shaped rectangle, and then Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka bisect it, forming the belt of Orion. And then 3 stars descend from the belt to form the sword of Orion, and those are kind of the most commonly recognized parts. Among the brightest stars, Betelgeuse is Alpha Orionis, which is an M-type red supergiant. It forms the right shoulder, and it's the second brightest star in the constellation. Then there's Rigel, Beta Orionis, which is a B-type blue supergiant, which forms the left foot of the constellation. It is the brightest in the entire constellation, and it is the 6th brightest star visible in our night sky. Bellatrix, Gamma Orionis, is a B-type blue giant, which forms the left shoulder, and is also associated with female warriors and has been called the Amazonian star or the Amazon star. Mintaka is called Delta Orionis, Alnilam is Epsilon Orionis, Alnitak is Zeta Orionis, Sekhie is Kappa Orionis, and Mesa is Lambda Orionis. So, Rigel, Bellatrix, Betelgeuse are all kind of taken names from, you know, kind of other stuff, but Alnilam, Mintaka, Alnitak, Sekhie, and Mesa all take their names from Islamic words, because this constellation was widely studied in the Islamic world, and so their modern names take their names from that. So the main parts of the constellation outside of the body are the belt, the sword, which is made of the Orion Nebula, the Messier 43 Nebula, the Running Man Nebula, Theta Orionis, Iota Orionis, and 42 Orionis. The head is made of Maissa at the point of a triangle of stars, with Phi 1 and Phi 2 making up the bases. And then he also holds a club in one hand, while his sword dangles from his belt. The club is north of Betelgeuse. Mu Orionis forms the elbow, Nu and Xi form the wrist, and then Chi and Chi 2 form the actual club. And then there's a shield that sits west of Bellatrix, formed by the Pi Orionis set of 6 stars labeled Pi 1 Orionis, Pi 2 Orionis, etc. So that's the basic info about the actual constellation itself. I'm not going to explain supergiants and supernovas and how bright these all are in relation to the night sky, because I'd be here for hours. I took a course where we talked about it. I'm not going over it again. This was already more than I needed to cover.
Yes.
Next, we're doing another section I didn't need to cover. This is not Orion in Greek mythology. This is the constellation Orion around the world outside of Greece, in antiquity and in sort of pre-modern times. So the earliest records we have of the recording of this star being visible in the night sky and used or referenced by people are in Aurignacian mammoth ivory carvings from the Ach Valley of West Germany that are estimated to be between 32 and 38,000 years old. The ancient Babylonians called it the Heavenly Shepherd, or the True Shepherd of Ainu, and considered it sacred to Papshukal and Nishubar. The ancient Egyptians considered it to be the god Sa, linked to Sopdet, which was the goddess of the Sirius star. And between the two of them and a few other gods have often been syncretized to Isis and Osiris, named in early pyramid texts from the 23rd and 25th century BCE. The medieval Muslims called it the giant holding the giant sword. In ancient China, it's one of the 28 lunar mansions. The Rig Veda calls it the Mriga, the deer. The Hungarians actually called this constellation the Archer, Nimrod, father of Hunor and Magor. The Scandinavians called it Frigg or Freya's distaff. The Finnish called it Vainamoinen's scythe and Kalevala's sword. It's actually the constellation representing the national epic story of the Kalevala, which I actually have a copy of. It's pretty interesting. In the Americas, there are a lot of different accountings of it, but the Seri people called it the Hunter, which I thought was interesting because we've got another hunter associated with this constellation. And then in the Austronesian kind of faiths, like Oceania, the Polynesians consider it to be part of the Heike Ona Keiki, or the cat's, similar to a cat's cradle sort of representation. And the Maori connect Rigel to the Matariki, who are the Pleiades, which Rigel and Orion, Orion with Rigel as part of it in the constellation, is connected to the Pleiades in Greek mythology, according to some tellings, which leads us into Orion in Greek mythology. I think Knick-Knack's bored at this point. You want to switch screens away from the constellation?
I didn't realize you were ready for mythology until you caught my attention.
I'm ready for the mythology. So, Orion is a giant huntsman placed in the sky by Zeus or Artemis, according to the story. There are a lot of ancient sources covering it, but there's 2 main birth stories and a few main death stories. Some of the most important bits that are accumulated across the different recordings are his birth in Boeotia, where there actually are records of a cult existing around him until the late Roman imperial period. The visit to Chios, meeting Merope, and raping her and being blinded by her father. His sight recovery in Lemnos, the hunting with Artemis on Crete, and then death by bow of Artemis or the giant scorpion Scorpius, and his elevation to the heavens by either Zeus or Artemis. So in terms of Greek literature, he's pretty interesting because last episode outside of Smash or Pass, we talked about the Argonautica with Jason and Medea. Apollonius records the entire story of the Argonautica in a literary format. Now, we actually don't have a complete literary record of any of Orion's mythology. We have a lot of different stories and a lot of different accountings. Some agree on certain things, some disagree. Some stories are only present in one or two tellings. Some are present across all tellings. But there is no surviving extant literary version of the stories of Orion and Artemis. So, in Homer's epic The Odyssey, he's seen as a shade in the underworld. Here, Sirius is his hunting dog, and he is the true epitome of a hunter. He's also a possible lover of the goddess Dawn, Eos, and called the most handsome of the Earthborn. Now, according to Hesiod's Astronomica via Eratosthenes, he's the son of Poseidon and Uriel. Uriel is the daughter of Minos, the king of Crete. And he is able to walk on waves because he is the son of Poseidon. He walks to the island of Chios and gets drunk and rapes Merope, who's the daughter of King Oenopion. Now, Oenopion in mythology, according to most stories, is the son of Ariadne, who is the princess from the story of Theseus and the Bull, and the nymph Helike. In one version, supposedly he walks there after he marries a beautiful woman named Side, who is then punished by Hera for being more beautiful than Hera and thrown down into the underworld. So he goes off to find a new wife or whatever. Oenopion stabs his eyes out when he finds out what he's done to his daughter. And so he stumbles to the Isle of Lemnos, where the forges of Hephaestus are. Hephaestus are. And Hephaestus has his servant Kedalion guide him to the utter east, where Helios heals his eyes. He then returns to Chios in this telling to punish Oenopion, but Oenopion is hidden away underground, so he can't. He then goes to Crete, where he hunts with Artemis and her mother Leto, and threatens to kill every beast on Earth. As a result of this, Gaia is very unhappy with him and sends a giant scorpion to kill Orion. Once that's done, the Leto and Artemis, because in one telling of this, he actually saves Leto from the scorpion while it's trying to kill him. So Leto and Artemis plead with Zeus to have him elevated to the heavens. In the other version of this, he and Artemis are in a relationship, and Apollo is disapproving of this relationship. So Apollo contrives to have Artemis accidentally kill him with her bow, and he is raised to the heavens by Artemis out of the tragedy. Like, she's so upset. So there's a few other sources that kind of change up his birth and death. So there's an alternate birth story that says, I recorded this one because it's funny. So Zeus, Hermes, and Poseidon all went to Hyrieus of Tanagra. He held a feast for them and sacrificed a bull, and they offered him a favor, and he asked for a son. So the three gods urinated in the bull hide, told him to bury it, and 10 months later dig it up, and whoop, baby Orion. I thought that one was funny. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. There's another side story version where Eos, the goddess of dawn, falls in love with him and takes him to Delos, where Artemis kills him because she disapproves of the love between a mortal man and an immortal goddess. Then there's the story where Apollo is jealous is another telling, and he sees Orion swimming, and he challenges Artemis to see if she can hit that black thing in the water all the way out there, and she does, and his dead body washes up on the shore, and she is bereaved and raises him to the heavens because of that. There's also a story where he chases the Pleiades for 7 years, and Zeus ends up raising them all into the heavens as a result of their eternal chase. So moving on to Artemis. I'm not going to be going over everything involving Artemis because there is just too much to cover. I was told she is not the main servant, so I really only needed to be concerned with maybe the things that are important about her.
I mean, we could have a 3-hour epic of the entire life and times of Artemis here.
Look, I don't think you understand. It would be, because I have an entire 20-minute lecture on Artemis of Ephesus to add on to that. But I'll go over the main things and then her involvement with Orion. So, Artemis is the goddess of the hunt, the wilderness, wild animals, nature, childbirth, care of children, and chastity. She's often identified as an important lunar goddess with Selene and Hecate, the goddess of magic, and she is called Diana by the Romans. She is portrayed often as a goddess of the hunt not to be crossed, such as in the stories of Actaeon and Callisto, which we are not going to talk about here. She is one of the chorotrophic deities, meaning that she is associated with child nurturing. So the story of her birth is that Zeus had an affair with Leto, and Leto was pregnant, and Hera was very, very upset about this. So Hera forbid Leto from giving birth on any island or mainland in Greece. However, the island of Delos, like the whole island, disobeyed Hera and allowed Leto to give birth in a cave on the Isle of Delos. According to a lot of stories written by male authors kind of shove Artemis to the side and just associate her with the birth. But the most detailed tellings of the birth often say that Artemis was born first and then midwifes her brother Apollo, which leads to her association with childbirth, child rearing, and that sort of thing. I am going to ask you to scroll down to childhood in the Wikipedia page. Down there. So, in terms of childhood, the most important things are her 10 wishes to Zeus, which I'm going to read off the Wikipedia page because I wasn't going to write these all down. They're not super long, but I just didn't want to write them. So, she asks of Zeus 10 things. To always remain a virgin, to have many names to keep her apart from her brother Phoebus Apollo, to have a bow and arrow made by the Cyclops, to be the Phaesporia or the Lightbringer, to have a short knee-length tunic so that she could hunt in instead of having to wear the floor-length tunic that women often wear, to have 60 daughters of Okeanos, all 9 years of age, to be her choir, or her companions, to have 20 Amnicides nymphs as handmaidens, to watch her hunting dogs and bow when she rests, to rule all the mountains, to be assigned to any city, and only to visit when called by birthing mothers, and to have the ability to help women in the pains of childbirth. So, Artemis is deeply associated with a lot of these things, and a lot of her myths tell of her achieving these things or acts that participate in the achievement of these 10 wishes. So, she requires all of her companions to be chaste. She received her bow and golden arrows from the Cyclops at Lipara, the Isle of Lipara, which was one of the forges of Hephaestus, where the Cyclops also worked. So she did get her golden bow from the Cyclops. Her hunting dogs were given to her by Pan, the god of the wild. And she actually captured golden horned deer for her chariot to pull them. She's got some interesting relationships with men. She seems to kind of, in a lot of myths... My man. She seems in a lot of myths to get along with men when they're kind of hunters and they're coming to her to be taught or to keep her companionship in a non-sexual way outside of Orion. But in general, she's a pretty hard line against rape or the forcing of women into sexual encounters, and a lot of her stories involve divine retribution against men or even some of the women in her cohort who became pregnant, like Callisto or Actaeon, which I mentioned before. So, with the stories of her that involve Orion, Orion is one of her hunting companions. The main story is that he hunts with her and Leto, and he brags that he is going to kill all the beasts of the earth, and Gaia sends a giant scorpion to kill him, right? And the scorpion kills him, and then they beg Leto and Artemis beg Zeus to raise him to the heavens. So they raise him to the heavens, but they also raise the giant scorpion called Scorpius to the heavens as well in honor of his hero's death fighting against it. So version 2 is where version 2 of his death is where he tries to rape Opis, which is one of her attendants, and she kills him with her bow. Version 3 is the swimming story, which we talked about before. According to this, he's the only man that Artemis ever loved, and she did intend to marry him, and Apollo did not approve of this, which is why he enacted this plot to have him end up dead. And then the fourth version is a version told in one version of the Iliad, and this is the one where Eos, the goddess of the dawn, takes him to Delos, and she does not approve of this relationship and kills him as a result of this. So that's the essential knowledge about the myths. It's a little hard to piece it all together in great detail because there are so many different variations. I covered the main ones and I skipped a lot of different variation in some of these myths. Like there are 5 or 6 myths for the story of Merope and her family line. There's a whole ton more about some of his own origins and stuff like that. But a lot of them are one-offs where just
Unlike
one...
a lot of our Greek heroes, we don't have one consistent story.
There's no one extant recorded
Yeah.
version. This is not like the Iliad or the Odyssey or the Argonautica or the Aeneid, where you have one story written
There's
down.
just various different tellings of this same guy.
Yeah. In fact, while I have piled all this together, some of this may not even be the same character. As far as mythologists know, we think that all of these are the myths about the same person named Orion, but they might not have been. Even in Homer's stories, he notes that some of the things he has attributed to Orion, he didn't have an actual name for the hero. He just assumed it was Orion or called it Orion. So we have some, but we don't have a lot. So there you go.
All right, so you kind of do know a little bit about this servant because we did see them in campaign.
I know a little. I know that there's a weird fucky wucky thing, and there's an anti-male big boom thing, because I used that to great effect. But I'm going to be honest, I don't remember most of what we did in campaign with Artemis and Orion.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't pay very good attention, mostly
Thank
because
you, Sekhie. I appreciate it.
Mostly because I didn't want to spoil myself for a servant that I knew we were doing relatively soon. Because we already had this year planned out by the time we hit Okeanos. So I knew we'd be talking about them later in detail.
Well, gee, I wonder if you can guess what Orion's class is here.
Is it perhaps an archer?
No, it's a lancer. I'm kidding. It's Archer.
Is this our first archer that uses a bow? No, we had Karna? Arjuna.
Arjuna.
We have had an archer with a bow.
So fun facts, like obviously Apollo here is obviously he and Orion wouldn't get along here. There's a fate story where Apollo, Orion, and Achilles all have to work on the same team. Apollo being the one responsible for both Orion's death and Achilles.
Oh, that's not a good matchup, fam. That's not a good matchup. I feel bad. I feel so bad.
Okay, but first off...
Oh, I did want to mention something. I forgot about this. There's a famous temple to Artemis at Ephesus that is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And it is where we get the Artemis of Ephesus, which is actually a really unique depiction of Artemis that I might show you later. That doesn't really matter now, but it's interesting. It was destroyed in antiquity, so like it doesn't exist anymore, but it is one of the original 7 wonders of the world. Okay.
All right, so first let's get into... You're going to see both Artemis and Orion here.
Okay.
Meet Artemis and Orion.
Oh, look, big booby lady?
Big booby lady.
Oh.
There's Artemis, and there's
lady.
Orion. Orion
with the
is
golden bow?
Yeah.
Why is he a bear? He has a club and a sword.
We know...
I think.
We've said in Fate before that...
Is that a club and a sword?
I believe so.
Okay.
We've said in Fate before that you can't summon gods.
Yeah.
Not normally.
Yeah, no.
This is one of those instances where a god was summoned. This servant, by all means, is mostly Artemis.
Okay.
Because what happens is, when Orion is summoned under most circumstances, Artemis sees and is like, oh, Orion's gonna be alive again. Oh, I'm coming too.
Because I love him and I'm meant to marry him. Yeah.
So instead of letting Orion summon himself as Orion, she makes him a tiny little teddy bear and hijacks the spirit origin. That's
kind of adorable. I also like the attention to detail that I think he looks like he's got a little club and a sword and a belt.
Yeah.
Like the constellation. I do wonder why he's a bear. Is there a particular reasoning for that? No. Okay.
Comfy to cuddle with?
No, that's fine. Yeah. No, just wondering. Oh.
More booby.
That's a lot of...
That's a lot of booby.
You know what? It's a goddess. I don't...
That's a lot of booby.
Why is his asshole...
We're gonna move on.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this scene in one of my After Dark episodes.
Oh wait, I only just noticed Orion there.
Did
Orion thick, boy.
That the clap of his cheeks alerts people to his approach in this art. Okay, I like this. I like this a lot. In the night sky with the stars. And the moon and the... Oh, I like this a lot.
For the sprites?
I actually like the sprite on this one. I think the sprite's really cute. Yeah.
So yeah, that is the design here.
I like the design on this one. I think, honestly...
I'm sure you could have done with a little bit less tit in some of those artworks.
No, I like tit.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I am equal opportunity. Tit is just as good as thyless chaps.
But you mean with Jason?
Yes. Both are appreciated by the Sekhie. Plus, it's a goddess. Who am I to judge a goddess on her choice of clothing?
So...
Oh, also... why does it... So, is she called Diana? Sorry, I'm just looking at the also known as... Is it that she's also known as Diana?
Diana
it says Diana with Artemis in parentheses.
Diana isn't that the Roman variation?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. The Greek and Roman gods are considered one and the same, just different interpretations by different cultures.
Okay, just wondering.
And they do shift with the culture, like their nature.
Yeah.
Obviously. It's similar to Percy Jackson.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no shit. I just spent a whole semester in Roman paganism learning about this. Not in a Percy Jackson contest.
So Artemis actually can appear every once in a while without Orion, so it's just she would have a divine spirit that's extremely degraded by the modern era.
Yeah.
In comparison to when she's hijacking Orion.
Yeah.
In this scenario, Orion is not wholly happy with his loss of autonomy and will often be seen sneaking away or trying to make moves on other women while Artemis isn't around. This never goes well for him. It usually ends with him filled like a pincushion with arrows.
I mean, Side, Merope,
yeah.
Opeus.
Orion is a fuckboy, even as a teddy bear.
Yeah, no, I mean, there were a lot of other women mentioned in this story. You know?
Obviously, Artemis here is just an exceptionally skilled archer.
Of course. I would presume nothing less. What the... Oh!
Fake Orions.
That's so cute.
Here we go.
Okay, so... Independent action, magic resistance, I expected. Affection of the goddess, so this is what allows her to be summoned. Understandable. Wedge for the capricious. To shackle Orion with the excessive love of Artemis. She claims that the effect is more powerful if they're prone to adultery. I mean, that's a mood.
So...
that's a fucking mood.
So with that specific thing... I believe it's common to... I think... Because that is something that works specifically towards men pretty well. I believe, if I remember my research correctly, and if I clicked into it, I'm sure I'd see it. Emiya, at some point, finds himself on the wrong end of this. Because the entire, 3-root harem protagonist thing.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Sorry. I saw a name and I wanted to...
To confirm?
Yeah. Saw a name I recognized. It wasn't a variation I'd written down specifically, but I recognized the name. The name I recognized was Ortygia. And I think that's the archaic name for the island she was born on. According to one version of archaic sources. Because islands change names over time, especially from ancient to modern. But... If I look it up here, see it says here, Ascolium of Servius accounts 72 accounts for the island's archaic name to be Ortygia. And that's on the island today known. Yeah, Twin Reborn was Ortygia. Yeah.
So I believe regarding the one who chucks Orion into the sky, I think that's Zeus, but it might have been Artemis. I wasn't actually able to see that.
So In the love story, right? In the love story where Apollo's the cause of his death, it's Artemis. In the story where Gaia sends the scorpion, it's Zeus.
I actually have it in my notes here. The version that Fate goes is I normally don't have to go back to my notes the way we've been doing.
Is it Apollo or Gaia?
So it's mixing things up a bit here. So it is Apollo that killed him, or that got him killed with using Artemis. Artemis did still kill him.
Yeah.
But what Artemis ended up doing is, at first she tried to go find Asclepius to revive him, but Asclepius was freshly killed by Zeus.
No. So that is another version that I didn't cover in the myths. That is yet another version of his death.
And Zeus, because he's like, oh shit, yeah, I'm sorry. he chucks Orion into the sky for her.
Yeah. Yeah, because I definitely saw that as I was skating by, but once again, there were like 40 versions of his death.
Just a fun fact in Fate, just because of the way this all works, Artemis, so Orion is in the sky. Like, that is Orion. So Artemis will occasionally just go there to visit him.
Aww. But that's kind of cute.
One time, while she was visiting him, she would learn of his impropriety, leading her to beat him half to death up there.
Was that him chasing the Pleiades?
Yes.
Wait, actually?
Probably. I think that's probably what that's in reference to.
That's hilarious.
So, his NPs here, we're going to start with...
there's 3.
Yeah, there's 2.
There's
3. Oh, wait, no, I do have all 3 here. Okay.
I was going to say, we get some new lore. So TriStar Amore Mio, TriStar My Love.
Yep.
Let's see. Noble Phantasm, an arrow fired with the power of love towards Orion. Okay. Is this the Kill Men thing? Is this what you turned into the Kill Men thing?
Yes, so you'll see it a little bit later, but it's recreating that arrow. It's just effective against men. Too.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's firing it towards Orion every time, but she can recreate that arrow.
Yeah. Makes sense.
The next one is the Makoto. This is the same as before, except Orion is fired at the crotch of another man.
Yep, I remember that one. The mascot is used. Ugh, sure kill technique restricted to only males. I remember this.
Yeah.
I used this on...
Jason.
Jason.
You shot Jason in the crotch with Orion.
I did. I absolutely did. I don't feel bad about it either.
Our final NP here is
Rapid Fire Ortigia.
Yep.
Or Ortigia.
This is just a volley of powerful shots.
I mean, that makes sense. I appreciate the reference to Ortigia, her place of birth, but maybe would have liked something a little more.
Unfortunately, this is just one of those instances where we don't see it used very often. We don't get a lot of lore on this, just with what we have been given.
Yeah.
I'm sure if a writer wanted to, they'd probably expand on this.
Yeah.
But we've only seen it used once in story. It doesn't even look like it has a Bond stuff in here. It's just something we know she has, and that's about all we really know.
Okay.
So, we do have one of the NPs here. We have TriStar Amor Mio in FGO.
Okay. Darling, here I go. Not me. Aim over there. Many arrows. Just bitch slap with the bow. Or use the bow as a club. I suppose my biggest question is, they call it the TriStar Amore Mio. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that refers to maybe the 3 stars at Orion's head or the 3 stars at his belt.
It's probably a reference to that, yeah.
Yeah, because those are the 2 sections where there's specifically 3 stars that make up kind of his head and his belt that are famous. Mm-hmm. And I would wonder which one of those it was a reference to. Yeah.
So, this isn't the end for Orion here. Mm-hmm. Actually, we have another version of Orion called Super Orion.
Yes, I remember this. Well, I don't remember any of it, but you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I remember that it existed.
You've probably seen it mentioned here and there.
Yeah.
In some of the descriptions for other servants. So, while it is rare, it is possible to summon Orion without Artemis just hijacking his spirit origin.
Okay.
In the event that you do, you summon Super Orion, who is...
the giant huntsman?
Yes, and is Grand Archer, our next Grand Servant.
Oh, so it's our second Grand Servant.
Yeah.
After Grand Lancer?
We've only done Grand Lancer with Romulus Quirinus, haven't we?
Yeah, just Grand Lancer. So now we're getting Grand Archer. Is there... okay, refresh me. Is there only one Grand of each class, or do we just...
There can be multiple Grands, but the way the Grands work is there's only ever one at any given time. But there are things that they can do that give them to give up their Grand status, which including contracting with a Master.
Okay.
Which they almost always have to do to actually accomplish fighting the beasts, which is their goal.
Okay.
But that usually ends with them no longer or at least being relieved of being a Grand Servant, except for one instance, which we'll get to much, much later.
Okay. All right. So Super Orion is Grand Archer.
Ready for Super Orion? Meet the Super Orion.
Jesus.
That is a lot of man.
So this is Orion the giant huntsman.
Yeah.
This is the giant... Oh, those are the stars.
Constellation stars.
Betelgeuse, Rigel, the fucking Bellatrix, Mirce.
Your research was not for naught.
It was not for nothing. Wait.
Can you identify these?
All right. The red one on his shoulder is Betelgeuse, Alpha Orionis. The one on his left foot is Rigel. His left shoulder, the blue one, is Bellatrix. And the three across his belt are Mintaka, Alnilam, and Alnitak.
What's this one?
That's in his hand. So it's gotta be the one not holding the club. And I don't know specifically what that one's called. Because it doesn't name some of the smaller stars. Like, for example, like his club is made up of like Chi 1, Chi 2, and like a bunch of other smaller stars.
See, that is something I actually did not know about. That these were supposed to be the different stars and they were lined perfectly. Because I don't know my constellations.
Also, it's impressive that they got one red and one blue on the shoulders. Because one's a red supergiant and the other's a blue giant.
On to the next art here.
Yeah, and there on his left foot is the fucking Rigel.
Yep.
Blue supergiant, the sixth brightest star in the night sky. And his club and his sword.
What's interesting is despite the giant change in pose here, this is not the fan service art. Here's your fan service art. So you can see the arms of Artemis touching at his head in the night sky here.
Yeah. That's awesome. What?
It's Artemis choking out Orion. That guy's about to have his neck snapped.
Amazing. Yeah.
Man, more man.
Yeah. No, that's a high level of attention to detail when it comes to the stars.
I'll close out the NP.
I appreciate that. I really do.
So yeah.
Quite interesting.
In game, he's summoned to take down. He doesn't necessarily end up doing this, but the reason he is able to be summoned at all is because Koyanskaya is around.
Oh yes,
you remember Koyanskaya earlier this year.
Koyanskaya, yes, we discussed Koyanskaya.
As far as how he fights, he uses he uses bows, clubs, knives, and his own two fists, and then he has a sword.
Yep, that makes sense. Independent action. So, Blessing of the Sea God, Child of Poseidon. There you go.
The knives might be his sword, but with a man that big, a sword looks more like a knife.
That makes sense. So, I do appreciate Blessing of the Sea God also being able to run on the sea. That's directly from his mythology. Curse of Scorpio, one of his numerous causes of death. Makes sense. Stout Arm of Brutality, the stout arms that strangled a lion. Honestly, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure these are references to some of the various myths he's associated with. Mm-hmm. Pressure of the Moon Goddess. Affection. So much pressure that it makes him bulk up physically. Bowman of the Three Stars. Greece's first huntsman. Courting with Artemis's blessing. The 3 stars, Tri-Star is a constellation. Okay. And a fake mind's eye. That makes sense. Yep. Does he have noble phantasms?
Yes.
They're just a little too far.
He has a fair amount here.
Okay.
Which a lot written on
just
him
3. Scroll down just a little so I can see the third one. There. Oh, it's not third one. Yes, it is. I see it.
So his first NP here, Artemis
Hagnos.
This is a blessing of Artemis's love that gives Orion the strength of an army.
Okay. 10 out of 10.
Orion Harkos here is an NP that allows Orion to always hit his target no matter how far, negating even their defensive skills. It's strengthened against beasts, and He may not know how to do so, but the ability will always be there. Like, he always can find a way to do it.
That's interesting. So his bow is called Aegeus Eclipse.
Yep.
So Aegeus is a Greek word that typically was associated with shields and things like that. So that's pretty interesting.
So he has one last NP here. This is not one he can normally use. This is only possible due to events of the story that he was introduced in.
And that's Ortygia Amor Mio, or Ortygia My Love.
Yeah. And this is, like, he had to have help to make that NP, and it's not something he's summoned with normally.
Okay.
We'll go over here to his...
his NP?
Actually, I want to click into one thing, because I can show you a fun GIF.
Okay.
We're going to click into Ortygia Amor Mio. This is actually an entire ass scene in game.
Okay. Alright. Oof, Jesus. Big boy. Much power.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And it hits the satellite in the sky here.
Yeah, the Kolnitskaya.
That's not Koyanskaya.
Oh, is it?
I'm not going to spoil that, so don't read
this.
Is it
Voyager?
Page. No.
Okay.
All right, and I am closing out of that, or I'm leaving that now before you read that in Curiosity.
It's probably smart I read fast.
Because that is going to spoil stuff for much later.
Okay.
He's relatively recent, too.
Man, an archer with a club. Somehow that feels wrong. You know what I mean? Also, an archer that just punches also feels wrong.
The archer class is really made up of archers.
Did he just shoot his club?
Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
So, hang on.
Oh, look!
Yeah?
Come back! Come back!
Oh, no.
Just a little bit more. Okay. A little bit further?
Oh, further in. There we go.
Okay. Okay, so there you get... let's see if I can use the thing. So, there's the belt. These are the 4 brightest stars that make him up. There's his head.
Mm-hmm.
This is the arm holding the club. So this is the elbow and the wrist and Kai 1 and 2. And then this is the shield. And then there's a set of stars here that you can't see that his sword hangs off of in the actual constellation. So that's how that all lays out. And most of these have, now that I can see them, I could name most of them because I wrote them down. But yeah. Okay. Attention to detail.
You love that this is really going into the constellation.
I do. It was interesting to research.
I'm just going to say right now, in-game, once you use that NP and if you use his skills, he hits, like, probably some of the highest damage in the entire ass game.
I mean, I would expect him to as a grand archer.
Hang on. Don't pay attention when I have to look up.
Are you seeing if he has a different animation?
He has another animation that I forgot about when I was prepping this. Just a little funny one.
Can I look now?
Give me a minute. I need to pull it up. Okay, go ahead.
Ah, なんか嫌な予感がする。やべえ、アルテミス怒ってる。なんかバレたっぽい。
Oh god. That's not a hug. That's not a hug. That is not the loving embrace of Artemis. That is the death embrace.
That is the death choke. I thought you would find that amusing.
I did find that amusing. I, in fact, did.
Okay. So there are no other Orion NPs across any games or arcade.
Okay.
He and Artemis are relatively contained to just FGO.
That's fair.
But there is one variation of Artemis that I'm not showing here today to save when we touch on the gods later.
Okay.
It would be a huge as fuck spoiler as to what's going on with like what's going on fucky wucky with the Nasi versus Greek gods.
Okay, all right.
So yeah,
proto spoiler for the fact that we will be talking about the Greek gods again.
I think we can tell people when, or not when, but what episode they'll be on. You think? It's not the next episode. Don't expect to see this anytime soon.
It's not the next episode.
But we will be covering the Greek gods in combination with the Dioscuri servant.
The Dioscuri, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for. I personally picked.
That is probably going to end up being a special, not as long as the round table, but
very long. Once again, I'm going to need a chart.
Yes.
And red thread.
So yeah, let's take a look at CEs here. We'll start with Artemis Orion.
If it's new, I assume there's not too many CEs.
Artemis Orion's one of our older servants, actually.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
And they like to appear a fair bit.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see they got a sprite update.
Yeah. Or expression sheets.
Oh. Yo, the little fake. That's adorable. Anything another?
You know, I'm not going to click into this, but this is what the variation on Artemis looks like. I know it's a little wonky.
Okay.
Because it's just a sprite edit, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, so...
You're not going to click into other?
Other.
Just wondering. Okay, there's a command code. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Craft essences.
Oh, there's actually a fair amount of them.
We'll just cycle through the lot here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jesus.
Help.
Commenters, quickly, to the comments, tell him that he could just click that other button and open it up without having to...
There are a lot on them. So we might cycle through some of the ones I know we'll come back to.
Yeah. Alright. So, TriStar belt. So there's the belt, the head, the club. This is Orion in the night sky.
The Bonsi.
Behold, the most beautiful... So the winter constellation, the one and only Orion, 3 standing stars, Sumiyoshi Sanshin. Okay, so I didn't mention that, but that... So they... you know what? I should have mentioned that. There's a whole section. I only mentioned the fact that they're one of the Chinese lunar houses, but there's actually a Chinese name for them that refers to the 3 stars, Delta, Zeta, and Epsilon, which are the belt stars, as the 3. So I then assume that TriStar Amore Mio refers to the belt stars then, not the other set of 3. Okay. But there's something more beautiful than the stars. What is it? It's your eyes. The pickup lines... What? You do, but you can't? What do you mean there's a scary-looking girl standing behind me? Haha, come on, you must be Joe. The note ends here. Oh boy. My man was trying something, and he did not succeed. Bath of the Lunar Goddess. In the age of myth, it's said that the moon goddess purified herself in the spring after hunting. No peeking, even if you aren't into girls. Consider yourself lucky if she gets mad, because if she falls in love with you, you're screwed. Her love could weigh heavier than the moon. Before you move away. Interesting. I did not describe the myth of Actaeon, right? But I did mention it twice. However, in Greek mythology, the most common story about Actaeon is Actaeon came upon Artemis when she was bathing and purifying herself in the spring, where it was forbidden for men to see her. And he was transformed into a stag, and then she hunted him down for sport. For seeing her bathing. So, I mean, nice dip into further lore than Orion. Moonlit festival. Smack, smack, as the moonlight shines on the water surface, a strange hero is making the rice cake. An unusual moon festival proceeds apace in a rift between worlds.
One of our earliest T.H.E. events was just about
That's cute.
Artemis and moon and dumplings, and it was weird.
Chocolate. This is the Valentine's.
The Valentine's Eve. Help.
Help. It's as if this chocolate statue is trying to say something.
So you actually in FGO see the horrifying transformation of Orion into chocolate that is gifted in front of you.
Ooh.
It's like, oh, I didn't get any chocolate. Give me a second. Wait, no!
Oh, it's like the dude with the gold touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, would not want that. The 4 beasts in the moonlight. Do you want to show me this? I see where Orion is, but I don't think you want to show me the
you don't
description.
you don't know those two.
That's
Vlad.
Okay.
Just so if you can appreciate the artwork. And
that is a hot Vlad. That is hot Vladdy.
If you want, I can take a look at the description here, but we will come back to this when we do these two.
We'll come back to it. Don't worry about it. Okay. Hot Vladdy was all that mattered.
You
Golden
don't know him.
Carp figure. No, but I see. Is that
Orion
Apollo?
There. No.
Okay. Just checking.
No. Not even the same area of the world.
Okay. Just checking.
But we will definitely come back to that.
Okay. Combo barbecue flavor. 10 out of 10. Yum. A return gift. Snack stick barbecue flavored. Perfect for kids to play swords with. You can also put them between your fingers like you're holding the black keys. Hey you, tanned kid with the spiky hair. Don't get any ideas about using those snack sticks for mage crafting while muttering set.
So, this is actually an interesting, because this is the second Valentine's CE we've seen. Because you, as a servant, have both Orion and Artemis, FGO normally has its Valentine's CE separated by men's and women's. If you have both Orion and Artemis, you get one from both of them.
Okay. Nice. Party time. I don't know these people.
Yeah, you don't know them at all.
Nope.
And Orion's probably someone that can... It's like, where's Waldo?
Somewhere.
Where is he?
Open it up bigger.
Oh, there's Emiya back there.
There he is. Artemis is putting him as the star on the tree. as the Santa.
And you know two people. You know Emiya.
Oh, I see
Artemis
Emiya.
Orion.
Yeah. But I don't know the green-haired people.
No.
So I assume we'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to those too.
New Year's greetings. Isn't that...
Orion is in here, but those are just the two main characters.
I was going to say I recognize. There's Orion.
Yeah, Mash here.
Yeah.
And those are two characters you don't know there on the sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Dearmid! Upper left corner. And Artoria.
Wait. Oh, I see Dearwood and That's a reference to Fate Zero right there.
I caught them!
We could read this, I guess. Nothing wrong.
Happy New Year. With fresh determination, we will begin 2021 by visiting a shrine. To celebrate, here is my New Year's greeting. I'm sure everyone has their own wishes. I hope whatever you wrote on your Emma prayer plaque will come true. Nice. Cute. Hunter of the... There's Orion and there's Artemis.
This is Super On. We'll come back to this one.
What?
Because that's going to come up again here.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Could have just covered it here.
Nah.
Once again... Whole set of other characters.
Yep. Let me see if I can click in here and figure out. That might be Medea back there.
Huh.
I could be wrong on that. I think that's Medea back there.
Something. Either way.
Otherwise, where's Waldo?
Fuck if I know. Like, genuinely, this... Oh! In her arms.
There he
Tiny.
is. Maybe that's just a stylized Artemis. I wouldn't know.
Maybe. I can't tell. White Garden. There
Again,
he is.
more,
He's sitting beside her.
Yep.
But I don't think you want to show me this.
Yeah, you don't know any of those
different
people.
characters. Okay. We saw this one already.
Yes.
There he is. Front corner. Okay. I only recognize like one person from this art, so.
I think that's Jason in front here.
No, 10 out of 10. Hot Jason. Look, Jason's a fuckboy, but he's a hot fuckboy.
I'm sure we'll come back to this again at some point when we know more of the characters.
Yeah. Self-explanatory.
Actually, no, that's pretty recent. So no, you don't know this person. But there's Orion biting a polar bear's ass.
Yeah.
Or riding, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that character, but that
That's
is a very muscular woman wearing...
This is one of those characters that came out in FGO and the entire fan base was like, step on me, please.
I have a theory as to who this is.
Who do you think it is? I won't confirm or deny.
I think it's Bradamante.
Okay. We'll
I don't think that's right, but the way you talk about Bradamante makes me think this is Bradamante. But you said it was new, so that's probably not correct. Alright, so now we're Super Orions.
Yeah, the reason why I skipped the last one because that was the Bond CE right there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Alright, so
Here's
icons,
the versions. Yep.
sprites,
There's his dumb face.
expression sheets, others. No, this is like a full like.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty new artist.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Click it. Okay. I think I can tell that it happens in all of them, but so remember how I said that each of the stars had their own names, but they were Alpha Orionis, Beta Orionis, Gamma Orionis. Greek lettering. Each of the stars shines in the shape of the Greek letter, and I bet that if you got close up on each of them, it would be Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Theta, Iota. Yeah. Even more detail!
All right. So, craft essences.
Oh, there's only 3 here. Okay.
Yeah, he's relatively new. He just came out in NA not that long ago.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Okay, so Bond CE. There's Hunter of the Stars.
So you see regular Artemis there.
Yeah, and him in the night sky.
Yeah.
The stars rise and fall in the heavens. 3 stars line up to form a belt. Betelgeuse and Rigel make up your body. The stars that are supposed to be light years away manage to shine in the celestial sky to represent you. But even that's not permanent. They only dazzle in the sky for a few short hours. And as with all human life, you rose and fell like the stars. I think that's so sad, so much that every day I look forward to the coming night. But you probably think that's how things are supposed to be. Orion, my love, you became a star, you became a heroic spirit, you became a servant, and you reunited with me. I may make another mistake, I may even try to destroy this world. I certainly hope that won't be the case. But if that happens, please destroy me with your arrow. Do it alongside Master. Okay. As long as we make that promise, I can feel at ease staying beside you forever. As long as we understand that we can both kill each other, you and I can be equals. So let's look up at the stars today. Let's look at the starry sky that is you, beautiful and dazzling. That's really sweet, actually. Also, what I will say is interesting. So when I said January to mid-April was the best time to see it. So Orion doesn't leave the night sky, but for a lot of the rest of the year, he's present during the daytime, so you can't actually see him unless you're in, like, Antarctica during specific times. So he's present year-round, but you can see him best during certain times. Argonauts!
So we're back with the Argonauts here again. Now you recognize this guy in the background.
Now
here.
I recognize
and we did
that
read
guy.
this in terms when we did Jason.
Yep.
So yeah, another Pokemon captured. This is the Valentine's.
Yeah. A return gift from Super Orion. Various materials were combined to create this belt that depicts the beautifully brilliant TriStar. Wear it, and not only will your hunting skills improve, but also serves as a formidable mystic code. Orion apparently wanted to include some sort of transformation function, where one inserted something into the 3 stars, but he gave up on that part. However, a few of the inventors who got word of his intention seemed to be excited to try their hand at making that a reality. Interesting. Yeah.
So, is that a reference to the fucking Infinity,
What?
I think that was a reference to the Infinity Gauntlet.
It might be. Yeah, it might be.
Just with that general look.
Maybe.
So yeah, that's Orion. We'll go up to here to Super Orion because Super Orion is Orion in this situation.
Is more Orion than Orion and Artemis.
Yeah, we'll go into his full body here.
Yeah.
So what you think?
I'm a fan. I like that. I kind of like that they didn't just stick to one version of the story. It almost feels more realistic that they kind of picked and pulled, because that's what a lot of other authors appear to have done in antiquity. They picked and pulled the stories and situations that they thought were part of the Orion myth. So honestly, recombining that to kind of create a narrative that included all of these things that were present in the original myths, but not in the exact same like amalgamation, seems pretty interesting of them. I'm a big fan of that. I like the attention to detail with the stars. It's nice that I can sit down and name every single one of them and like which one each of them is and all that kind of stuff, because that's pretty cool, you have to admit. Especially when they even get the coloring right for the one red supergiant as opposed to all the blue giants and blue supergiants. Like, that is an attention to detail that is stunning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really glad I went over that extra info about the constellation and the stars now. I mean, you kind of scoffed at me a little bit.
I wasn't scoffing. I was just like, man, I don't really want to... I sat through astrology. My astronomy teacher would kill me for saying that, my astronomy class.
But you sat through an astronomy class, so you didn't really want to sit through one again, which is why I kept it short. I didn't want to do another one because we were talking about Dobryninya, and did a lot on like the actual science behind it. But I started looking into the stars and I was like, I cannot go on an explanation of like when these are supposed to explode and when this happens and when that happens. Like for example, Rigel, the brightest star. I think it's Rigel. It might be Betelgeuse, but one of the two of them is supposed to go supernova within the next 100 to 200,000 years, which is a really short period of time.
Because that one always has like, oh, it's going dim. Is something going on with that one?
Yeah. And when it does, it will be visible to Earth.
Yeah.
Like, because it's such a large star.
It's going to be the third brightest thing in the sky, and it might even fuck with some animal life.
Yeah. So that's going to be really interesting. And every single one of these stars has like a different lifespan calculated. There's also some interesting stuff I didn't cover. Like there are some cosmic astral objects around Orion that aren't stars. There's actually a cloud of cosmic gases in one section around Orion that are not. And also the Orionid meteor shower. With the parent of Halley's Comet occurs every so often. So there's even more sort of stuff. And I didn't particularly want to do a whole breakdown of...
And not all that would have been important.
No. Like, nobody needs to... This did not need the explanation of what a red supergiant is versus a blue.
You did ask me if, like, you should cover the... I was like, you should probably touch on it a little bit.
Should probably know Rigel and Betelgeuse, and the fact that the three belt stars are so important, the Alnilam, Alnitaka, and Mintaka or Saif. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan. I think they did a good job with this servant. I think that there's a lot of attention to detail, and honestly, this is a good way to close out this month. We've had a couple really good servants. Cupid was interesting.
I guess, what do you think of Artemis? Since we also had her here as well. We do get her design, just her general design.
We got her design. I think we didn't get a whole ton about her. And what we did really painted her as in like two separate lights, right? Like I felt like I got two distinctly different versions of the same character, right? Mm-hmm. I got obsessive lover and woman in love, right? And those are two very different things. It seems like they play off the obsessive lover as a joke, and
this is more of a gag character
and to be honest, that's not my favorite because it's not a very good representation of who Artemis is. And also, the obsessive lovers being women is a fairly strong stereotype in a lot of parts of the world that isn't necessarily good, so I don't love that. But I do love the elements where we see, like, especially like the specific Bond CE, where that was very obviously written.
You see, although she's not actually summoned, you do see some of her characterization in Super Orion as well, with like the embrace in the sky. And
that seems more like the story that they take with her loving Orion to the fullest extent. And I can appreciate that because there is a version of a myth like that. And I can see love stories between mortals and immortals are one of the most common things in history and
keeping
mythology.
in mind that when we got the actually more serious version of Super Orion, we also got a more serious version of Artemis that I just did not cover here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it in the Dioscuria, and I'm sure that will make me feel a whole lot better about her.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I didn't get much on her, and I appreciate her, but I think she could be better. Which she probably will get when we talk about her later.
I'll try to explain away some of what's going on here with her when we get there.
Yeah. It's nice to see another Grand Servant.
Yeah.
An archer that uses a bow. Always nice. Although the fact that he shot his club felt a little bit like watching UBW Kaladbolg as a fucking arrow.
The archer class is really made up of archers.
No.
Grand Archer shoots his club from above.
Truly the archers. Why are the archers the most fucky-wucky shit?
Look, the archers class is made up of a bunch of himbos. Let's be real.
You would think it would be the casters that are fucky-wucky. No, it's the archers. God. But, with that being said, I think we can give a hint to the next servant.
You want to take this one? You want me to take this one?
As for our next servant, I'm going to be really happy because we're going to be revisiting someone that I love dearly. Somewhat. Somewhat. So, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you back here for the next episode. Secondary hint, next month is themed. Also, you're getting our updates video at the end of next month. So keep an eye out for the updates video. In that, we'll keep reminding you at the end of the next couple videos, but we're going to be covering any card arts that I didn't see for like the first 12 or 15 videos before we started putting them in. We're going to cover NPs that I didn't see. We're going to cover forms that have appeared that I didn't see since we covered people like Artoria and Elizabeth back in like 2020 or 2021. It's only been a year or so. So all that sort of stuff, anything that you guys told us we missed or we just didn't because our format wasn't at that point yet, we're going to be going over that stuff. So it's going to be a big video. I'll put video chapters on it by servant. So if there's anyone you're curious to see me react to something I didn't see already, you'll be able to do it there.
So, yeah.
So, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you back here in a few weeks.